Hey Internet, welcome to PHPRad Front-End Development. This video is brought to you by 2Zik Official and sponsored by The Best Blessing. In this tutorial, we're coming to look at how to make a responsive and dynamic dashboard, and this video will focus on dashboard layout. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first thing we want to do is to open our PHP framework or PHP Studio. And once we do that, sorry, it seems like I'm having issues with my PHP. So once you're able to open your PHP framework, you can simply create a new project or any project you are using. But in my case, I have a project I've created named front-end class. I just want to show you briefly that in the dashboard of this project, there is nothing wonderful there. So this is the home page of this project, and as you can see, it's completely blank. And but before we start this tutorial, there is something I want to let you to know. Whenever you are creating a dashboard, you have to have this in mind. Number one thing you want to have in mind is, how do you want your dashboard to look like? This one of project I made with PHPRad, though is incomplete so far, but I just want to use it as a point and explain something to you. This is actually a school management system, and looking at the setup of the dashboard, at least it tallies with the real definition of a dashboard. And if we are to ask what is dashboard, it's actually a typical user interface that highlights or indicates the necessary points of a business. It kinds of summarized a kind of indicators of some records, in a nutshell, so that whenever you look at it at a glance, you pick some information, and with that you can know what is going on in your business or in your company. So this is a school management system, and on top here we have the count of students, teachers, parents, and workers. Again, over here we have a fee collection and expenses. That will be a graph, and here we can have our earning, our expenses, paid and unpaid stuff. Over here is going to be the recent activities, kind of histories. Over here is going to be the notice board, as you can see the notice board inside. And here is going to be the event calendar. See, whenever you look at the dashboard, it kind of summarizes a whole lot of things to you. So let's look at something like this. And this is let me see. This is also a dashboard, but this dashboard is kind of a medical dashboard, and the thing it houses is different from that of what we have in our school management system. This is also made by PHPRad, and by the side you can see that it's all about the date and appointment. Over here is all about information laboratory. So whenever you are building a dashboard, you are not actually making it to look like what someone has done. Like what we have here is actually a POS dashboard, and everything about this web application is completely a dashboard, starting from scratch, from the point of sale of the work. A lot of whole thing is about the dashboard. So the reason why I'm showing you all these things is, whenever you are making a dashboard, you have to at least have a plan, have an imagination of how you want it to be, at least a rough sketch. In case you don't have, just get a piece of paper, give it a drawing on the sketch, and put down the way you want your dashboard to look like. But most of the time, the common things we used to have in a dashboard is a counter. So this is what I'm talking about, a counter, and we have that function in PHP. So let's move over to the page design, and I'll show you briefly what I mean by counter. These are the counters I'm talking about. Record count, so you can drag and drop one of them on your index component, and you just start making use of them. So we have our counters, and we have a sub page of what we have, of sub page of many pages we have in our project. I think we have spoke a lot. Let's just start doing something. The number one thing I want you to do is the second thing I want you to do is to, whenever you are making a dashboard, is always advisable to make the background of that dashboard a kind of lighter color, but not white. Okay, look at this dashboard of school management system. The background is gray, and with this gray we are able to differentiate white background and the actual background. So coming over to this thing, the same thing is going on here. The background is actually not gray but kind of gray too, and it helps us to differentiate things. So I will advise whenever you are making a dashboard, this is actually not a dashboard, it's not actually a dashboard, but you know, it have that dashboard. Let me change the theme. Alright, I guess you will see it better, but it's always advisable to have the dashboard something that is lighter but not white. So I've added a new section row here, and inside this section row we are coming to do a whole lot of things. But before I continue, I would like to remind you that this video will focus on the dashboard layout, not actually putting the content of the dashboard, but we are just trying to lay out the look, okay, the grades. That's actually what we want to lay out. So first of all, I'll put this section row, and inside this section row here I'm going to house my styles and my script. Then I will create another column, and inside this column it will house the major content of this of the dashboard. Our dashboard, we have inside the body, it will houses about 4 to 5 columns, but I will make it 4 or let me make it 5 for sake of a few things. So inside the first column we want to add this header class, and we want to say div. And before we continue, make sure you have typed bg light, and this bg light will be on the mother row, okay, on the mother container, this guy. So that's where you give your bg light, or I prefer using bg light, okay. That is actually the background I spoke about. So let's come over to this guy. You remember we added 5 rows, 1 2 3 4 5, and on the first row here, that's where we want to add some text, kind of welcoming text, and we can do that by just simply starting the flex okay. The reason why I put the flex here is because in order to justify my content between, it must be in a flex display. So we'll move on to div class, and inside this class we'll have a h4, and this h4 will put some text that will say hi, welcome back, okay, and it's going to be kind of an exclamation mark. And we'll move down and have our div class. This guy will house a button btn holder. It's not compulsory that you have a button in your class, but I'm just trying to take you through how it looks like when you are making a dashboard. It's not just something that is so too much. It's something that you can actually do when you come down and make a good planning. So I want this button to be SM, and I want the background to be BG. I want it to be white, and I want the text to be muted. And inside my button I want to have some icon. As if you know me by now, you know that I like to use simple line icon. So I'm going to call on this guy called printer, and the margin right will be 2, so that there will be space between the icon and my text. So this is going to be an export button, kind of if you want to export something, or maybe if you want to import something. It depends on what you want to do. You can simply type import here, or whatever you want to do, you know, that will suit your dashboard. I'm not actually building a dashboard for you, but I'm actually giving you a clue what it looks like when we are making a dashboard. Okay, from here we want the merging button to be 5. This is going to be a uniform something, and we want the padding top to be 4. All right, so let me show you how it looks like on the go. So like I told you, the background is light. We gave it a color, the background of color, and this is what we say, hi, welcome back. This is wrong spelling, and like we said, we want to have the justification to be in between these two content. Okay, it has justified them between them, right? Button didn't have a shadow. We wanted to have a shadow on it, so we can say shadow is actually a shadow. For some reason, if you are not getting your shadow, I would advise you to switch to this theme. This is actually the theme I'm using. Boot Switch Cosmos CSS. It's actually on the top here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The sixth one, that's what I'm using, Boot Switch. And I would like to switch my nav bar variant. I would like the color to be white, plain white, and then I will view it again. So having said that, let's move to, as you can see, the shadow have come and the work, and we have corrected it. Having said that, let's move to the counter. Most people like to have their counter on top because that is a layout that suits most of the web applications out there. So because of that, I'm going to use that style, div row. I'm going to give this guy a role immediately without wasting time, and I will just want to type snippet here so that it will be very readable for us in future. Class call LG. On large screen we want the colon to be 3, then on medium screen we want the colon to be 5, and on smaller screen or anything lesser than medium we want the colon to be 6, and again we want to give it the background margin bottom of 3, and inside this guy we give it a div class a bg of something, and shadow sm, and UI card. I will show you what I mean by all these things I'm typing. We'll actually create the class, and div class d skin, then padding of 3. Then inside here we have our content. In case here is where you are going to put your content. We are actually going to put our content, but not actually in this video tutorial, maybe in the next tutorial, because I'm making this tutorial as a course. So when we are done with this guy, in our next tutorial we will work on another thing. So the background here, we want to give it a background of primary. Alright, so let's preview it and see how it looks like, and let's see where we are lacking. Okay, that is it. As you can see, we made the background to be primary, and there is no styling as well. Remember, we gave it, the inner one, a class of we give somebody a class of dskin. There was a place we typed it there. So this dskin will have a background of linear gradient, and this linear gradient will be to the right, and I like to use RGBA a lot. If you are used to my videos, you notice that I mostly use RGBA because that is one of the colors. I understand how it works. So again, we use RGBA for the outer one, and this guy will be lighter, kind of whitish something, so that our card won't be kind of novice something. It will be of level, okay? And this skin, okay, and this skin, we want it to have a height of 130 pixel. Again, the next thing we want to style here is our UI card. We want our UI card transition. You won't notice this thing now, but you will notice it as we move on. We want the transition to be 0.3 s is, and we want to ease the keyframe. Again, we want the transition UI card. We want it on hover. We want, whenever we hover it, we want the box shadow to be RGBA to be 00. Should we make it 5? I think 5 isn't bad. 5 pixels, 5 pixels, and 15 pixels. Again, RGBA. This RGBA, I would like to give it blue color, and the code for the blue color is 01117, and I think it's 255. Then the alpha is, we can give it any alpha. I would like to add my alpha 0122, right? So that is it. So the transition, again, we want it on key out. The transition should be 0.3 is a keyframe, so that it will be uniform. Okay, so we are done with that styling, the styling we need for this tutorial. I think we are done. As you can see, it has increased in size, and when you notice here is more darker than this side, it's kind of a silhouette all through. All right, so the next thing we want to do, haven't done that, is to duplicate this girl, or I'm sorry, it's actually this guy, is to duplicate this guy and kind of paste it. So I'm going to make this guy warning, which is actually something like a yellow color, and this guy will be danger, which is most of the time red, and this guy on top here will be info, which is kind of move color. And we are done. The next thing we are going to do is to make the margin of 5 to maintain uniformity. Look at here, over here we have a margin of 5, this guy too will have a margin of 5. So let's preview it again and look at what we get. Alright, so it's actually the way we want it to be, and when we preview it on our browser, it looks like this. Let's check the responsibility and see if it is responsive. As you can see on a medium screen, they have come to col SM4, col MD4, and on a smaller screen is now telling to col 6. Alright, the next thing you will need is the where you would like to host some graph. Should I delete this guy? Where you would like to host some graph and some counter. For here we are going to put this guy here, and over here we'll also put this guy as well. And here we'll type fill because we want the height to be 100%, and this guy will make it a div, and over here this guy will do it like this: div class col 12 bg white shadow sm and UI card. Haven't done that. We'll move inside and say div class card header, and deflex. The reason for the deflex, if you can guess, we want to justify the content between, and again we want the bg to be white, so that by default Bootstrap give anything like card header, it gives it the background of light or gray background, and I want to switch that to background of white. That's why I typed bg white extra. And inside this guy we want to have something like this span class, and this span class will house our card title. You can give this card any title you want. If you are housing something like student school fees, or student something or whatever, or POS, anything, you know, kind of account something and something, you can just put the title over there and you keep going. Over here we want to put icon here, class icon. Okay, let's choose refresh and let's make it test primary, and again let's make it small, and let's make the MRI to be 2. Alright, the next thing, the second icon will be close, and this one will be test danger. We want it to be red in color, and the MRO we should remove it now. Alright, then moving forward, the next thing that will be here is div. Inside this guy we are going to have our content. Okay, so just like that we can say that we are done. It shocked you. Alright, so let's preview it and see, but before we preview it I would like to give this guy a kind of div, and well, let's preview it and see. But before then, let's give this guy we want on large screen, we want the colon to be 7, Then this guy too, on a larger screen, LG screen, we want the column to be 5. So 5 plus 7 will actually give you 12. Like I used to tell you, according to Bootstrap, the maximum width of any screen is, any given width size is 12. So whenever you are dividing it, just make sure the whole suffix ends value sum up to 12. So let's preview this thing we have done and see how it's going to look like. All right, so that's what we have here, but we couldn't have our content justified between, and again, there isn't enough space in this guy, so we can say P3. Again, since we say P3, we can go further and give this guy MB of 2. Then div let's justify content between. Okay, then that is it. Let's view it again. Alright, as you can see, this is the card title and this is the options. Maybe if you want to add some JavaScript event listener here, you can do that. Just give them some ID, and maybe you can give some function like on click function, do this, on hover function, do that, on ready function. You know, you just mess around with JavaScript a bit and you have your project to work very, very perfect and ready. All right, moving down to the next thing, we want to style this guy. So we'll call this guy div class, and inside this div class we have snippet, but this div class is actually a row because there will be more columns inside it. Div class sys, then bg white. Just look at how easy, when you understand the term, it feels very easy. It feels very, very easy to mess around. So let's add shadow, sn, and our UI card, and again we can say style. The height, we want the height to be 200 pixels. I'm sorry. And we want to copy this guy, v. All right, we want to give them a margin of 4. And this guy, we won't give it any margin because that's the last content of our row. It's not necessary to do that, but if you like, you can. But I want to reduce the height to 150. Alright, and mind you that I've typed fill inside this guy, and I'm coming inside again to type fill so that it will have an absolute fill. Alright, so that's what we get, but our content doesn't feel the way we want it to feel. We want it to fill the entire thing, and is not giving us what we want. Let's find out the reason. Let's go back to our field here. As you can see, we don't have a function called field, so we create the function, and this field, we want the height of it to be 100%. You're not going to be specific, just say 100%. So it picks the 100% of its parent holder. So you can see it have just start from top there to the bottom, and that's exactly what we want to do. So let's preview this thing to the browser again. Let's refresh what we have, and as you can see, it's working perfectly the way we want it to work. So let's add some MB3 here, and also add some MB3 here, and that is it. We'll move down to the next thing we have, which is actually same as what we have here. So we can simply copy this guy, come over here and paste it. But what we're going to do with this guy is that we are going to remove all this content and left with only one. So that's kind of super, but not that super. So we call this guy bg white. I'm sorry, since we have the content here, we can simply copy this guy copy, can simply copy it and come over here and paste it, take it off from here, and again come here, X and P3, and you can say content will be here, and you can give this guy the style, but this guy you are going to make it 350. Okay, and you can take away this snippet if you like. If you don't like, you can just maintain it there. And this guy will be called 8 to have some variant, and this guy will be called 4 because 8 plus 4 will give us 12. Okay, and we preview it and see what we have. So that's what we have, as you can see, the card, but we want this guy to come over here so that it will look kind of professional. Move up, and we want this guy to have a margin bottom of 5, just like the way we have on top here. Just like the way we have here, margin of MB5. This guy should also be MB5, and this guy too should be MB5. So the next thing we want to do is just to copy this guy and paste it here and collapse these guys. And again, we want to move this one down so that they will be different from one another, and we'll put MB5. All right, so let's preview it again and see how it's going to look like. As you can see, it's a bit more nicer and it feels more cool, but we want, whenever we hover on any of this card, we want it to, you know, let us know that we have actually hovered over it. So we have done that, but it didn't work. We actually say UI card, it should be on hover. We wanted to do this thing, box shadow. We wanted to give you the box shadow of this and that, but it won't actually work because we are using Bootstrap Shadow SM, and that Bootstrap Shadow SM overrides a lot of things. So in order to overcome that, you have to make the browser know that this is very, very important by just typing important, just like that. But before you type the important, make sure that exclamation marks comes before the important. Okay, so you preview it, and this is what happened when you do that. Now let's try to hover it. You will notice, some shadow, blue shadow at the back of it. I added the blue shadow because I like to have it blue, but you can give any color code you want at this place. This is where you give the color code. Just here, make sure that the color code is RGB, or you can simply take it off and add HFX or something. Okay, so we preview this thing in our browser and see how it's going to look like. It's looking fine to me. Let's check if it is responsive the way we claim it will be. As you can see on a smaller screen, you can notice that this guy from here is one section, and from here is another section, from here is another section. They are like that based on the margins we gave them after each successful column. So guys, I thank you so much. In our next class or in our next tutorial on dashboard, we are going to look at how to give it a side nav, something like this. Even though PHPRad provides with some custom made side nav, but we don't like that one, so I'm going to show you how to make a custom and well responsive side nav like what we have here. And when our screens are small, kind to tail like this, and you can hover around it, or we can decide to go something like this. It all tails down to what will suit our dashboard, and we do that. So guys, I thank you so much for your time, and don't forget to save your project. Again, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, share our video as much as you can, and I will catch you guys in the next one.